Hey guys, my name is Amanda. Welcome to my channel. Today's video is a very special collaboration with one of my very best friends, but we will get into that as shortly. For now, I'm going to jump right into the DIYs. And hey, if you haven't subscribed to my channel and like the content that you see today, please consider doing so. So here is an idea for you. This gorgeous square wreath was made with mostly Dollar Tree items. Just grab up a square wreath form from Dollar Tree and a framed piece of art that you like in the fall theme. Also some ribbon that you can use. Now this ribbon was not from Dollar Tree. I like to buy end of season clearance finds, and so I believe this was from Walmart last year. But Dollar Tree does have a beautiful selection of fall ribbons. Just grab one that you like and wrap it all the way around the wreath form using tiny dabs of hot glue here and there to put everything into place, especially around the corners. You may have to do that. But once my wreath form is all covered, I just take my art and I put some glue on the back. I just double check to see what will be touching my wreath frame before I add the glue. Then I press that firmly to make sure it's adhered. You can even turn it over and add a little more glue to the back. Now I have two beautiful sweater style pumpkins from Dollar Tree that come on picks. I just remove the picks and add some hot glue and then put them in opposite corners. I then grab up a couple more pumpkins of different colors and put one on either side of my larger sweater pumpkins. I try to get kind of the same color family but different shades and tones so that it looked really nice together. Then I grab a couple of those little buffalo check pumpkins and put them at either end to kind of blend in the colors of my art there. And I grab some greenery that I had in my stash. Any greenery will do. I just cut it down into very small pieces so that I could strategically place the pieces where I wanted them with tiny dabs of hot glue. I actually used two types of greenery for a little bit of contrast and just a little bit of interest, just placing the items where I want them and adding a little bit of hot glue. So here is how it turned out. I think it is absolutely gorgeous. Just a few dollars to create this. Super stunning. Just use whatever you have in your stash as far as ribbon and pumpkins, and you can make this on a total budget. Absolutely gorgeous and very customizable. Okay, guys, so let's talk about today's collaboration. It is with one of my very best friends on YouTube and real life. Her name is Stephanie from Mama Can Make It. I met her in person. She is beautiful on the inside, the outside. She's a talented creator. She is a genuine person, and I am so proud to call her a dear friend. I absolutely love the DIY she creates. They are stunning, they are original, and they always look so high end. So right now I'm showing you a video clip that she sent to me of all the things that she is going to be showing in her video today. So I will have her video and her channel in my description box. Please make sure to go and check her out and give her some love, and please tell her that I sent you. I know you will not be disappointed. Okay guys, let's jump right into our next idea. For our next idea, I used a wreath form from Dollar Tree, but if you can't find one at your Dollar Tree, Hobby Lobby does sell a similar wreath form that you can get half price if you just watch the fall sales. So either way, wherever you get your beautiful wreath form from, just grab up some yarn. I grabbed this fuzzy yarn from Dollar Tree. It's this beautiful burnt orange color, and I began wrapping every other section. So a couple tips here. I like to double my yarn over so that I'm wrapping two pieces at once. And I also like to cut a strip that I can work with so that I'm not kind of weaving the whole ball of yarn back and forth. So I just do this to every other rung, gluing down as I start and as I finish, and a couple times around the curves where I feel like it needs a little bit of glue. Once this is complete, I also go around those pieces of wire that are on the sections where I did not put any yarn. Hopefully that makes sense, but you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just covering up all this bare wire that's in between my yarn covered sections. Once that is done, we're going to grab some dark brown fuzzy ribbon from Dollar Tree. I'm doing the same thing, doubling it over, gluing it down, and just wrapping my stem all the way to the top, securing it with hot glue and trimming off any excess. This is very easy to do. It's also very customizable. You could use yarn or twine or strips of fabric, whatever you prefer. So I took this Dollar Tree fabric, flipped my wreath form over, and I glued down the fabric right on top of one of those empty spaces in my wreath form. Once I get one side glued down, I then see where I need to cut off my other side, and I glue that down, pulling it tightly so that my fabric will not gap. This worked well for me, but if you have another way to do this, that is fine too. You just want to make sure that all of these empty spaces are covered with your fabric, and again that your fabric is pulled very tightly so that it does not bunch when you flip your pumpkin over. So I glue this down. Of course, I trim off any excess on the top and bottom, and then I repeat the process on the two side spaces. Once this is done, you have an absolutely gorgeous contrasting pumpkin. Now, I decorated mine very minimally, but you could add as little or as much decoration or embellishment as you like. Project is very inexpensive, but I think it really packs a big punch, so to speak, as far as really making a big impact. I guess that's a better way to say it. No punching, we are crafting. Anyhow, okay, I'm in kind of a weird mood, so you will have to excuse me. It is getting toward the end of summer, and it's been a long summer, y'all. So anyway, here we are finishing up, and I'm going to begin my embellishing, which is a pretty simple bow. So I flip it over. Here is what it looks like. Absolutely beautiful. I grab a few pieces of ribbon and a couple pieces of that fabric that I use, and I just stack them up on top of each other. Those ribbon pieces are from Dollar Tree, so I'm just kind of creating an X form here, and then I'm going to scrunch my little X in the middle, and I'm going to use a doubled over piece of that pretty yarn, and I'm going to wrap it around the center multiple times and tie a knot. I think that looks pretty, and it also secures our bow. And then of course we can kind of arrange our bow however we like it, kind of fluff it out a little bit. And I do dovetail those ribbons. Dovetailing is just folding the piece of ribbon in half and cutting a upwards triangle to give you a beautiful boutique finish. Once that is done, I apply a generous amount of hot glue to the back of my bow and affix it right beneath the stem. Here is what this looks like. I think it is absolutely stunning, very customizable to your yarn colors and your fabric pattern, and I hope that you like this project as much as I do. Now it is time to jump into the next idea, which is another inexpensive high-end Dollar Tree wreath. I really love this. I wasn't sure about the leather items that Dollar Tree has, but I fell in love. So here I have my Dollar Tree wreath form, some faux leather leaves from Dollar Tree in two different shapes, two different colors of faux leather pumpkins, and some faux leather in a roll from Dollar Tree. I took my faux leather and I cut it in half. Then I cut each half in half to give me 4 strips that I could wrap around my wreath form. I just glued a piece down and wrapped it loosely around. When I say loosely, I did pull the material tight, but there are some gaps as I kind of spaced it out. So that's what I mean by that. And then I take these beautiful leaves and alternating the shapes of them, I tuck them all the way around the wreath form to cover up most of those gaps. And I do this strategically, figure out exactly where I want them, me and my little son Elliot here, and then I go back and glue them down. There are still some gaps, but those will be covered up when we are finished. So here I'm just using some hot glue. Now I'm taking these beautiful faux leather pumpkins and I'm spacing them out. One on the top, one on the bottom, one on either side. I'm going to be alternating colors, but I just wanted to make sure I had a perfect placement here. Just remove the alligator clips by simply popping them off of the back. Now I am going to leave a larger space on the bottom and top of this wreath form, and to that space I'm going to add some of my extra leaves that I had left over. I'm also going to cut down a couple of leaves and go to areas of the wreath that I feel like are a little sparse, or maybe there's a gap, and I will use those pieces to fill that in. Now here you see I have my bottom and my top kind of fuller, and that is because I'm going to be taking these words from Dollar Tree, these faux leather words. I have blessed and grateful. Apply some hot glue to the back of my blessed and place it on top of those leaves at the top space of my wreath. And then I apply glue to grateful, and I add the grateful to the bottom space at the bottom of my wreath. I think this is absolutely gorgeous, very inexpensive, and I really think that it looks high end, and it's very simple to make. So for our next idea, I'm going to be making a truck pumpkin using some unusual Dollar Tree items. I was actually lucky enough to spend some time with my friend Stephanie a couple states away, and we went Dollar Tree hopping. I found these 3 pineapples, and I told her that they would make a beautiful pumpkin. I then came home and made a pumpkin out of them. So for one of them, I'm going to trace a stem on top of that crown, and I am going to use my clippers to cut this out. You could use sharp scissors or clippers, anything that will get through that MDF board. And then for the other 2 pineapples, I am just going to cut off their crowns. You can also sand the edges of this so it's not jagged or sharp. This will make a beautiful base for our pumpkin. So once I had all 3 pieces done, I then took my truck fabric from Dollar Tree and I laid it out so that I could go ahead and cover the pieces of this pumpkin. Now I did trace where I thought I was going to add the fabric. It didn't quite work out for me, so I would recommend just adding Mod Podge and covering your whole pieces in that piece of fabric, because I did have to go back and add some more. Now if you do this, you do want to make sure that that Mod Podge is dry before you add hot glue to add your 3rd piece, or it may not stick. So I'm adding some hot glue, I'm adding my 3rd piece, and then I painted that 3rd piece with Waverly Pumpkin chalk paint. I decided I did not like the way that that looked, so I ended up covering that 3rd piece with the additional remaining truck fabric. Once that was done and my truck fabric was dry from the Mod Podge, I took some Dollar Tree rope and I outlined each section of my pumpkin, just laying down a strip of hot glue and placing the rope into it. I did the whole pumpkin this way, including the stem, by adding some hot glue at the base of the stem, wrapping my rope all the way to the top, adding more hot glue, and trimming off any excess. Then the gorgeous base to your pumpkin is done, and you can embellish any way that you like to embellish. To this one, I really did have some fun adding a bow with some different ribbons and a few other decorations. I really enjoy doing that once in a while, just kind of going over the top. So I took a few different Dollar Tree ribbons and I was kind of low on each one of them. So I just cut 2 pieces of each one and folded them into loops, and then I placed them on top of each other at a sideways angle. So I did this for 4 pieces of ribbon, and then I tied them together tightly with a piece of twine, wrapping it around the front and the back, and then knotting it very tightly and trimming off the excess. Once you get your bow onto your project, you can then fluff it out. So I add a generous amount of hot glue. I place my bow just beneath my stem and hold it until it is dry. I then make one more bow to layer on top. I just fold this over till I have 2 loops on either side. Tie it tightly with twine, glue it down onto my larger bow, and then I fluff out each section of the bow, just kind of pulling it forward. And then I add a couple of leaves to either side of the bow, and I grab some Dollar Tree hula hoop skirt. I take a section of it, fold it over, tie it tightly with twine, cut that off. Once I get that glued down under my bow, I can cut the loop of the hula hoop skirt so that those pieces are hanging freely. I can then give them a little haircut and trim them up here and there how I like them. And of course, I repeat the process on the other side. And I also add a few pieces of that hula hoop skirt underneath my bow as well. I add a little Dollar Tree pumpkin to the middle of my bow. And here is what this looks like. Can you believe that this was made from Dollar Tree pineapples? Really love, and I'm really proud of this one. So these next two DIYs were from fall last year, and as a disclaimer, I was not very good at editing. I was very new to YouTube, so please ignore that and just enjoy the crafts. I think they are absolutely beautiful. The first one I'm going to show you pumpkin wreath. I have a wreath form that I had in my stash here. I have 3 pumpkins from the Dollar Tree and 2 pieces of scrapbook paper. I removed the word bless that came in kind of that tin type word cut out off of this large pumpkin and covered the front of the large pumpkin with my glue stick. I then put the glue stick glue on the back of the scrapbook paper and adhered it to the front. After I did that, I trimmed around it. You can also trace and trim. This just works for me. I did the same thing with my 2 smaller pumpkins. They came on stands. So of course I removed them from the stand and peeled off the very, very messy glittery piece of material that was on the front. I then used my glue stick to repeat the same process with my second piece of scrapbook paper for this grateful pumpkin. For the hello pumpkin, I took a medium-sized white and gray buffalo check pumpkin that I had gotten in a pack of different sizes, and I actually took the material off of the pumpkin as we're going to be using some more of those pumpkins in today's wreath. So I just used that material in my glue stick to adhere it to the pumpkin. And then I glued my 2 smaller pumpkins to my larger pumpkin, just kind of stacking them to my liking. I then used my Waverly Elephant chalk paint to paint the word blessed, and I adhered that. That is done. I'm going to be using truffle chalk paint to paint the stems of my pumpkin, and then I am going to be putting bows on each one of them. For the 2 smaller ones, I'm just using this Dollar Tree. It looks like a rope, but it's not. It's like a mesh tubing. I really love it. I'm just tying a very simple shoelace bow for my 2 smaller pumpkins. And then for my larger blessed pumpkin, I had just a little bit of blue burlap left over, so I kind of rolled it into a tube shape, scrunched it in the middle, and tied it with a piece of Dollar Tree twine. I then glued it to the base of my larger pumpkin, and I'm sorry I go a teeny tiny bit out of frame here, you guys. And then I take another little shoelace bow with that Dollar Tree mesh tubing and put that right in the middle. And this is how I attach it to my wreath form, you guys. I take 2 pieces of Dollar Tree twine, and I take the tag that actually came on one of these pumpkins, and I just glue the tag over top of the twine to hold it on there, and I just use these pieces to tie this to my wreath form. I then use a Dollar Tree tumbling tower block under the bottom. I was going to use one under the top as well, but it wasn't necessary. I just put a little glue on both sides and put it under the bottom to make sure that that is very stable on there, and it is. Now this part you can just have fun with and do what you like. I actually had a garland from Hobby Lobby that I had cut into pieces, and it's a spring garland, yes, but I think it transitions nicely into this early fall piece and looks really pretty. So I'm just taking little pieces and poking them in where I can, tucking them in between those twigs and under whatever I can, and alternating them with some of this beautiful lamb's ear from Walmart. And then I have 2 small yellow, oh my goodness, I'm sorry guys, orange and white check pumpkins, and 1 large. So what I'm going to do on the bottom, I'm going to have 2 of my little orange buffalo check pumpkins and 1 large gray and white check pumpkin, and then I am going to do the exact opposite on the top. So I hope that makes sense. For the pumpkin, I'm just taking an extra floral stem and stabbing it in the bottom of the pumpkin and using it to push it into my wreath that way. Then I do the exact same thing on the top, and here is my gorgeous pumpkin wreath. I did get my scrapbook paper from Michael's, the larger striped one, and then the smaller pumpkin one is from Hobby Lobby. So I really hope you enjoyed this DIY. I absolutely love the way all these patterns and colors go together. I think this is so pretty, and I hope that you like it as well. So here is another idea. So this next idea is from last fall as well. It was this absolutely gorgeous apple and sunflower wreath. I did like this one, and my son Elliot liked it and helped me with it as well. So this was kind of a must share, and it is with mostly Dollar Tree items as well. I started by taking one of these Dollar Tree apples and then another package of wooden Dollar Tree apples. They come 8 to a pack. We took a bunch of sunflowers from the Dollar Tree. We took a couple of ribbons, a burlap ribbon that I absolutely love, and we will also be using the buffalo check ribbon. We have a Dollar Tree wreath form here, and then I'm just going to wrap this wreath form with this burlap ribbon, just gluing every so often, making sure it's wrapped tightly. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to attach this apple to the side there at an angle that I think looks nice. I'm just kind of positioning it here and making sure it's exactly the way that I want it, several times apparently. And then I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to put some hot glue to attach it. And then I'm also going to use some masking, well, I thought I used masking tape, my bad you guys. I used some craft paper, Dollar Tree brown craft paper, to make sure that that glue, it has something to adhere to, and I stick this down. I had thought I used masking tape because I love to use masking tape with hot glue. That is a little trick that I learned from Holly over at Hot Humble Pie. You definitely need to check her out as well. So I just make sure that that is adhered tightly the way I like it. Apparently I use a little bit more paper back there, and I love using this paper as well because it just kind of gives it a nice finished look, or better than seeing that wire on the back. So now I'm going to flip this over maybe sometime today and begin embellishing it. I do want to take this opportunity to thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. If you have not subscribed, please consider subscribing and click that bell so you're notified every time I upload. If you are a returning subscriber, I appreciate you so much. Thank you. So now I took these sunflowers and I cut them down, cut the little knob off the back, and then I took this extra garland of leaves that I had and I just cut off two piece of leaves there, if that makes sense, because that's how they come attached, and I just glued it to the back of each sunflower. So each sunflower has 2 leaves on it. And now I'm showing you how I prepared these apples by just filling in that little hole, which really wasn't even necessary, with wood filler, and then I glue my scrapbook paper to them. Now I believe I prepared 6 of these, but I think I only use 5. We'll see here in a minute, but I simply just put glue and scrapbook paper on top, and then I go around the edge with my fingernail, and then I will be trimming that off. And I do paint the little leaves with a green and the stem brown. Now remember, this is customizable. If you don't like the scrapbook papers that I have chosen, or you want different colors, this is just an idea for you. So we have our sunflowers prepared, we have our apples prepared. So I painted 3 of them red, and then 3 of them with this buffalo check scrapbook paper, and I'm going to be alternating my little prepared sunflowers with these apples. So this is easy peasy. You can see how I'm doing this here, just gluing it on with my hot glue, alternating there. And then I did lose a little tiny bit of footage, but really all I lost was where I attached a bow to the top side there, and then attached a little bow on my larger apple. And so if you've been around my channel any amount of time, you see how I do my bows. I just put loops on either side. Now for this bow, I have 3 loops on either side for the large top bow, and I do use a buffalo check ribbon, and I just tie it in the middle with Dollar Tree twine. But of course you could use a zip tie or a pipe cleaner, whatever you fancy. And then for the larger apple bow, I just use more of the buffalo check ribbon and just do 1 loop on either side and pop a little tiny sunflower in the middle. So you can see what I'm doing here. Like I had said, I was just going to be alternating these apples and these sunflowers. So cute, so customizable, so simple and easy, and it only costs us a few dollars. And this, I feel like, is a very bright, cheerful statement piece. So I really hope that you guys will like this. Just finishing off, gluing everything down and showing you. Usually if I'm making something for my door, I like to use something other than hot glue, but since it's going to be fall when I put this out, and hopefully it'll be a little bit cooler, I did just use hot glue. But if it's still going to be hot where you live when you pop this out, you might want to use a stronger adhesive. Definitely something to keep in mind, and just get everything arranged exactly the way you like it. And there's where I added the bows. And now I'm just going to go around my red apples with a little bit of plaster chalk paint on a spongy brush and just give them a little bit of outlining and some dimension, just to get them exactly how I want them, and just add a little extra pop and pizzazz. So here is what that looks like. I know it is very different, but I really was going for that unique look. I hope you guys like this and maybe get some ideas of things you can do with those little wood ornaments from Dollar Tree. Okay, you guys, it's time for our last look at the items we made today. The apple and sunflower wreath, our beautiful blessed wreath, our beautiful yarn and fabric pumpkin, as well as our blessed and grateful leather wreath, and this truck pumpkin, as well as this beautiful, grateful, and blessed as well. Thank you so much once again for joining me, you guys. I really appreciate you. I really hope that you guys enjoyed these DIYs today. Please don't forget to give me a big thumbs up. Take care, and I will see you very soon.
You can subscribe to my mom's channel, and thank you for watching today's craft, and stay safe.